Hey everybody, or nobody, good morning to you. My camera ran out of space on my last video, which was probably a good thing. I'm actually using my Kindle Fire, well, because I don't have a computer to upload on. And it makes me feel really out of the loop. I have an iPad and a Kindle and a laptop that I can borrow, but my laptop's busted, so I feel like I'm totally out of the loop. And because I can't upload videos from my card, I can't print labels, shipping labels for my business kind of thing. So the other day I tried to solve the problem by buying a wireless printer, because my printer's probably 15 years old and I've just never updated to anything cool. And I've never bought a new computer once in my life. And exactly a year and a week after I bought it, it crapped out and the warranty was up. So it's now sitting bricked in my closet along with 2 or 3 other laptops and the one next to me that won't turn on. Point being that in today's world, if you don't have these things, you're kind of forced out. You either opt to kind of just sit in the dark, so to speak, or you have a device so you can see what's going on. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, if a person's on the internet saying, "Oh, I'm opposed to technology," or "Oh, I don't need a computer," or "I don't need a phone," it's complete bullshit. If you're Googling, if you're going online and you're going on YouTube and you're watching videos and you're commenting, then you're using technology. And I don't think any one is any better than the other. I mean, as far as like saying, well, I don't do that, I do this. And anyway, the point I'm getting at is that my kid, like let's see, he's 5 years old, or 6 years old. He just turned 6 a couple months ago. And I have a 3-year-old as well. My 3-year-old can run the iPad. I mean, we don't just let him play like crazy, on it all the time, but if he gets a hold of it, he can swipe it, turn it on, go through the pictures. He knows what he's doing. My other son, who's now 6, he knows everything about technology. I mean, he obviously doesn't understand how to use a computer and go to Google and get to certain sites and stuff. I don't want him to know those things, but at the same time I do, because the kids today are growing up in a crazy world that needs that. And if you're not technologically savvy, like my oldest son's 21, and he's not that tech savvy, and he's a really smart kid, and I know he could figure it out if he wanted to, but he was just never had to fix any computers. He's never really been exposed. For me, I was forced to fix computers because I was always the one, when the internet first came around in the mid-90s, and my wife and I got together in like 98, and we got our first computer, and we had the old dial-up modem and everything, and when something would go wrong, you'd have to fix it. You'd have to go into your computer, and if you couldn't figure it out, you'd have to try to go online and see if there was a resolution to your problem. And over time, it built more and more information so people could, start repairing their own problems. Long story short, I've had to go in and reprogram BIOS and all these different things in my computers, and I don't really still know shit about computers. No matter how much you know, there's always more to know. I'm very actually computer illiterate, but I still know a lot more than some people, which makes me think, shit, if I knew even less, I'd be in a lot more trouble. Anyway, I was really relating this to the kids of today and how they're growing up with this idea that they, I guess we expect more from them almost. Like, well, yeah, we grew up in the 80s and had fun, and 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever we grew up. And we had fun when we were young, and there was no technology to distract us, and we didn't need this or that, and we just went out and played and had fun. So you shouldn't be using it, or you shouldn't be obsessing, or you shouldn't be playing video games. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to use Minecraft as an example. My 6-year-old loves Minecraft, and I have to debate whether or not I let him play it. We give him a half an hour twice a day. To some people that might sound like a lot, but to a parent who has a Minecraft kid, it's never enough. And when he was about 5, turned 5, and he discovered it, what do you say to a kid who wants to build out of blocks? Now, this is a perfect example because, I was talking to my mom, and I remember her saying one time, well, kids, when we were kids, we built with blocks. And I say, I agree, we did too. We had Legos, and we got inventive, But even when I was a kid, Legos would have been considered high-tech to my parents. They'd be like, well, when we were a kid, we just stacked up blocks, but now you guys have these fancy Legos. Well, it's the same thing happening with Minecraft, but for those who don't know, Minecraft is more than just building houses and rivers and whatnot. You know, it's an entire landscape that you can manipulate. And he's never played it on the computer, he only plays it on the iPad. But recently they included what they call redstone. Redstone is basically circuitry, if you will. And this circuitry can be used with levers and buttons in order to create machines and traps. So you could have one of the monsters in the game walks over if he walks over a pressure plate, it releases, a trap door where everybody falls in. Well, it turns out that they've been using Minecraft and letting kids play it, and kids have been designing new circuits, new methods of circuits, because what they're doing is allowing kids to use their brain power to create, circuits and inventions, and just letting them go hog wild. And in hours and hours, these kids are coming up with these amazingly complex circuits. And you can go in the book and look at basic circuitry and switching plates and how Anyway, my kid comes up to me the other day. He's like, "Hey, look at what I built." And he flips this lever on, and these two blocks start flashing back and forth. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you just stack these blocks, and then you pull these blocks out and do this." He's like, "Yeah, I just saw it on YouTube." And my kids have kids YouTube. It's the kids version to make sure it's relatively safe. But you can only avoid exposing your kid to so much stuff. If you're growing up with kids today, and your kids are, like my kids' age, the younger version, I feel sorry for you. I know how hard it is. I know that some parents are really, really, really pressure their kids to try to be a certain way. I want my kids to be free to be what they want. And in today's world, I have no reason to step in their way and say that, well, you need to buckle down and do this and do that. I had the hardest time with my oldest son. With my wife and I would discuss, does he go, should he go to college? And my thing was always, well, if he wants to. And my wife feels the same way. So I say, hey, travel the world first. Enjoy it. See what there is to see before you do anything. But if you want to go to college, go to college. If you don't, don't. But I'm never going to look down on him for not. In my opinion, it's a waste of money. Unless you really have a particular goal that you want to pursue and you want to stick with that for the rest of your life, which I think at that age a lot of people do, but later on decide that maybe that's not what they wanted to do. But anyway, point is that pursue your dreams, pursue what you want to do, and the whole thing about the kids and technology is to remember to embrace it. Remember that you played with your Legos, or your Tinker Toys, or your Lincoln Logs, or your Nintendo, or a lot of the kids today. I'm 40, but anybody who's in between the age of 25 and 30 probably grew up with Nintendo as the norm, and probably even Xbox, PlayStation, stuff like that. So PlayStation was something that came out when I was about 18, I think, so it was one of those, it was a huge change. Things really changed with the age of video games, but I realized even then that it wasn't just the video games, nor was it just the music. It was a changing of society, and a changing of cultural values, and a shifting of values. And a lot of people claim that this is, they talk about the indigo children and the rainbow children being born today, and how they're being born with different DNA and smarter and all this. And I kind of scoff at the idea, just because I say, it's not that kids are being born smarter and therefore we're becoming more technologically advanced. I'd say we're becoming more technologically advanced and therefore kids are being born smarter. Because everything you learn is programmed into your DNA. Everything you experience and know is programmed into your DNA, whether you believe it or not. This is how we have instinct. This is how birds learn which food to look for, or how to look for food when they're born, or certain animals know how to stand up and go off scavenging or whatever. Certain aspects are learned, and certain behaviors are trait-based behaviors, but I think that the intelligence of humans, it's not that we're increasing our intelligence so much as increasing our capacity to fulfill our desire for intelligence. We're increasing the amount of information that we have so we can choose one thing or another that we find interesting and delve into it. I just remember when I got up this morning, I was thinking, if I want to find, I don't know, I looked something up and I thought, this is just awesome. When I was a kid, I had to look up an encyclopedia. my youngest son, or my middle son, he's the 6-year-old. If he wants to know something, he loves to sit and watch space shows with me. I love universe shows, and he'll sit there and watch everything, every minute of it, just engulfed in it. And I think, man, I remember when Discovery Channel first came out, and we were so excited to even have shows about nature, and it was considered, and it's funny because it was always considered the stoner channel. It was like as a joke, like stoners sitting around watching nature going, yeah, dude. And I realized looking back that that's not an insult at all. It's a compliment. The stoners were learning. The rest of society was watching fucking commercials. I despise commercials, and I despise television and what it does to people. And maybe that's why I'm not so angry about commercials and the programming that they do, because the subliminal advertising that happens out there, it's in one ear out the other with me, because I see it for what it is. And I guess I've just taken that for granted. And I also see that I don't have television or watch commercials or listen to radio. I refuse to listen to a commercial. But whenever I do, I find it just irritating the hell out of me, and I have to turn it off. And maybe this is why people are frustrated, because they're constantly bombarded with all this crap. You walk down the street and sell, buy this, buy this, buy this. And the kids of today, that's all they have. But just remember, the kids of yesterday had the same problem. We were being sold Coke in the 80s, still with the name Coke, from cocaine, which leads me back to Grandmaster Flash and the whole thing I was talking before about cocaine in my last video, and how it just flooded the streets, and how we claimed it to be such a horrible thing from the ghetto, and that it was always the kids causing the problems, when in reality the CIA was the one importing the Coke. Companies like Coca-Cola are too irresponsible to take cocaine out of the name of their product, and in the 80s Coke was huge. And it even became the new Coke. I don't even know, people don't remember that unless you were from then, but new Coke. I mean, anyway, I've said my part. I never really considered Crystal Pepsi. That was out there for a while too. Thoughts for the day. Have a good one, everybody.